All right, let's just jump right in. You've heard the advice a million times, right? Find your one true passion and stick with it. But what if that feels, well, impossible? This is for anyone out there who feels like they're being pulled in a dozen different directions. We're going to lay out a whole new career strategy, one that actually turns that feeling from a weakness into, believe it or not, your greatest superpower. So much career advice is about grit, about not quitting when things get tough, but that completely misses the point for a lot of us. What if you look out at the world and see like 10 different things you're genuinely excited to work hard on? The problem isn't a lack of commitment. It's being totally paralyzed by all the choices. If this quote right here just hits you in the gut, trust me, you are not alone. This is the classic dilemma for people who are curious about everything. It's this feeling of having all this potential, but you're just stuck in neutral because you have no idea where to point it. You feel both incredibly powerful and completely powerless all at the same time. It's maddening. So here's our game plan for how we're going to break this down. First, we're going to actually name the problem, the scanner's dilemma. Then we'll look at the kind of world we're living in now, which is key. After that, I'll introduce you to a new way to think about your career, the M-shaped professional, and then we'll get practical on how to build it. And finally, we'll uncover the superpower this gives you. Okay, section 1. Let's start by giving this feeling a name. Because once you can name the anxiety and understand the pressure that comes with it, you can actually start to do something about it. So, society often has a label for people with tons of interests. And let's be honest, it's not always a flattering one. You get called a dilettante or a jack of all trades, master of none. And hearing that can create this huge anxiety, this voice in your head telling you you're failing because you haven't picked just one thing to be the best at. And this right here is the central conflict, isn't it? The very thing that makes you an interesting, adaptable person, your endless curiosity, starts to feel like a massive career weakness. Well, we're here to make the case that that idea is completely outdated, especially for the world we live in right now. So why is all that old advice, pick a lane, failing so many of us? Well, it's pretty simple. The world has changed. The game we're playing now has a totally different set of rules. This slide explains it perfectly. Think about the difference between a kind environment and a wicked one. The old world was kind of like golf. The rules are clear, the course is set, and if you just repeat your swing over and over, you'll get better. But today's world, it's wicked. It's more like being a firefighter. The rules are always changing, you never know what's behind the next door, and what worked on the last fire might not work on this one. Now that kind world created a hero, the I-shaped person. This is the deep specialist, the person who knows one thing inside and out. And let's be super clear, we absolutely still need these people. The problem was never that being an I is wrong, it's that it was sold to us as the only path to success, leaving a whole lot of us feeling like we just didn't fit the mold. And that brings us to the solution. If you're not an I, then what are you? It's time to stop trying to cram yourself into a single job title and start thinking about your career in terms of shapes. Let me introduce you to a much more powerful model. But first, let's talk about the trap. This is where a lot of multi-talented people end up. They become dash-shaped. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a mile wide and an inch deep. And this is a huge source of anxiety because you feel like you're floating with no solid ground to stand on professionally. So here is the alternative. This is the goal, becoming an M-shaped professional. Some people call it being a polymath. This isn't about being a master of none. It's about becoming a master of a few things. We're talking 2, maybe 3 deep pillars of real expertise. And the magic is they're all connected by that broad bar of curiosity and knowledge that you already have in spades. Let's make this real. Imagine one of your pillars is data science. You're really good with numbers. And another pillar is storytelling. You know how to craft a narrative. Your connecting bar is your general interest in things like psychology, history, and design. All of a sudden, you're not just another data analyst. You are the incredibly rare and valuable person who can take a complex spreadsheet and turn it into a story that a CEO can actually understand and act on. That's power. Okay, so this M-shape idea sounds pretty good, right? But the big question is, how do you actually do it? This next part is all about the how-to, the practical, actionable steps you can take to start building your own M-shape starting today. The strategy really comes down to 3 things. Number 1, serial mastery. Number 2, using your job as a strategic platform. And number 3, creating an external system so your brain doesn't explode. Let's walk through each one. First, serial mastery. This is crucial.
You do not try to build all your pillars at once. That's a recipe for disaster and just leads you right back to that shallow dash shape. Instead, you pick one pillar and you commit to it for a season, a year, 2 years, whatever it takes to get good. Then, and this is the key part, you don't quit like a dabbler because you got bored. You make a conscious decision to strategically quit. It's a graduation. You've built one pillar, now it's time to start the next.
Second, let's reframe how you think about your day job. Chasing a high-passion, super high-stress dream job can actually be a trap because it sucks up 100% of your energy, leaving nothing left for exploration. A stable, lower-drain, good-enough job can be a massive strategic advantage. It pays the bills, sure, but more importantly, it leaves you with a surplus of your most valuable resource, your mental energy to go build those other pillars on the side.
And finally, you need a system to catch your ideas. Think of it like this. Your mind is an amazing idea factory, constantly churning out new stuff. But your working memory, the part you use day to day, is a tiny little workbench. If you don't get those ideas off the workbench and stored somewhere safe, the whole factory just grinds to a halt. Using a simple tool like Notion or Obsidian is like building a warehouse for your ideas. It prevents overwhelm and lets you see the connections between them later. Now, when you start to put all these pieces together, you're building your pillars, you're managing your energy, you're capturing your ideas, something really amazing begins to happen. You unlock an ability, a special kind of insight that deep specialists often can't see. This is your secret weapon in our wicked new world.
That superpower has a name. It's called far transfer. So a specialist is great at near transfer, applying what they know to a very similar problem. But a polymath, an M-shaped person, excels at far transfer. It's the almost magical ability to see the underlying pattern in one area and apply it to a completely different, unrelated field. What does that actually look like? Well, it's the biologist who looks at the branching structure of tree roots and suddenly realizes it's the perfect model for a new kind of database. Or it's the musician who understands the principles of harmony and uses that to design more elegant, structured software code. This is where real, game-changing innovation comes from. So what's the big takeaway here? All those interests you have that feel so random, your obsession with ancient history, your weekend pottery class, your love of sci-fi novels, they are not distractions. They are the raw material. They are the library of metaphors and models you will draw from to create these kinds of breakthrough insights that no one else can see. Let's end with this thought. Maybe all that pressure you felt to just pick one thing and stick with it forever was wrong. Maybe your wiring, that endless curiosity that drives you to explore everything, maybe it isn't a flaw that needs to be fixed. Maybe, just maybe, you were never meant to master just one thing. You were meant to be the one who could see how everything connects.